I'd like to call this regular Town of Bayfield Town Board meeting to order for Tuesday, July 21st, 2026 at 6:30 PM. Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg. Here. Trustee Taylor.
Here.
Trustee Lyon. Trustee Ackerman.
Here.
Trustee Trujillo.
Here.
Trustee McLaurin.
Here.
And Mayor Ah.
Here. Let's all rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Does the board have any conflicts of interest?
Nope.
Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to mayoral recognition. I don't have anybody this week because I wasn't prepared, I guess. So with that, I'd like to move the general public input to anything that is not on the agenda. Seeing none, well, there's some on Zoom, but I can't tell when they're clicking in. I don't see any, so I'll move on to approval of the agenda. Does the board have any changes to the agenda?
I'd like to make a motion that we, under the action agenda, that we reorganize and change B and C.
Swap them
Just
out.
do C in front of B.
Got a motion, I'm looking for a second.
I'll second that.
Got a motion and a second, any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg.
Yes.
Trustee Taylor.
Yes.
Trustee Ackerman.
Yes.
Trustee Trujillo.
Yes.
Trustee McLaurin.
Yes.
And Mayor Ah.
Yes. First up is the 2025 audit and action item, presentation by Town Auditor Hinton and Burdick.
Kelly.
That's Kelly. I recognize her face. Kelly, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
And can you see my screen?
No?
There we go.
Yes, now we have it.
Guinea pig worked.
I don't know if you've heard me, but you're good to go when you're ready.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make it bigger, but we'll just see what happens. Is it still sharing, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess one thing to clarify, yeah, we were in verdict, as of January 1st, we merged with another firm. So we are now Squire. So you can kind of see that on our first slide here. As mentioned, I'm Kelly Jones, now with Squire, previously in verdict, to present the 2025 audit presentation. regards to state compliance, and that was, budget appropriations. The garbage fund did exceed its budget during the year. You can see that budget to actual statement on page 84 of the financials, and it exceeded the budget by approximately $31,000. There should also be another letter to the town. Well, just wanted to mention that there is another letter. And some financial highlights for the governmental funds. Looking at page 18 of the financial statements, you can see the net change in fund balances for the governmental funds. Those are listed here as well. The general fund decreased in fund balance during 2025 by $264,000. A lot of this was due to a transfer to the housing fund, which we will discuss in a minute. And then the street fund also decreased in fund balance by $343,000. This also was due again to the transfer that occurred. And then the housing development fund had no change in fund balance. This is due to, so the transfers that I mentioned in the general fund and the street fund were transfers that were needed to be made to the housing development fund to cover expenditures that did not have any additional grant funding. You are aware that there was some grant funding that was anticipated to occur from the county for the Cinnamon Heights project that didn't actually occur. And because that grant funding did not occur, the town was then paying for those expenditures because there was no funding. There was a shortfall in the housing development fund by $561,000. So to cover that shortfall, the general fund transferred $211,000, the street fund transferred $223,000, and the sewer fund transferred $127,000 to cover that shortfall. So that's why there was no change in fund balance in the housing development fund. In the capital improvement fund, it increased its fund balance by $349,000. And then the non-major funds, which is essentially the conservation trust fund, decreased fund balance by $8,000. Wanted to point out that budget and actual statements, you can find all of these starting on page 70, but all the governmental funds did operate within their approved budgets. Moving on to the proprietary funds, or the business type funds. The water fund, which you can find on page 21. The water fund decreased in net position of $192,000. A lot of that in 2025 was just due to purchases of water meters and water relocations. The sewer fund increased in net position of $231,000. Stormwater increased by $164,000, and the garbage fund decreased in net position by $11,000. As previously stated, again, you can find the budget actual statement starting on page 1, and all of the proprietary funds operated within their approved budget except for the garbage fund, as previously mentioned. I do want to draw out that the garbage fund is an area of concern. It has been operating at a loss for the past few years, and due to those operating losses, there isn't much remaining remaining net position at the end of 2025 to sustain any future losses going forward. So at the end of 2025, the garbage fund does have an ending net position of approximately $1,200. So $1,200. There is no room for the garbage fund to sustain any more losses. It looks like the waste contract, at least in 2025, fund balance of $265,000 is related to the emergency reserve under state law. And then the unassigned fund balance would be a decrease overall, just due to overall increases in expenditures. Part of that was the additional expenditures in 2025 for finding a new town manager. And then part of that was also due to that transfer that I had mentioned to the housing fund to cover those expenses in that fund. The recommended fund balance would be that we would be able to maintain 2 months of expenses in this unassigned fund balance. And currently, the general fund has more than 5 months that can be paid from this unassigned fund balance. So we would consider the general fund to be stable. It did show a decline this year, but still something to look at, but it still appears to be stable. For the street fund, again, so we have restricted fund balance, which is the green line on the bottom. There's $231,000 of restrictions, which was related to the East intersection project. I believe that continues on to that might be separated from this, but that is what's being restricted in the street fund. And then the remaining fund balance committed or assigned to street-related projects for $825,000. As mentioned, changes to fund balance, and that's due because it requires transfer in from other funds to cover those expenses. Capital improvement fund has restricted fund balance $1,000 for park and rec, park impact fees and park and fees that are restricted, and then the remaining is committed or assigned fund balance for the $2.2 million, which is just set aside for future capital projects. In the water fund, there's a few different classifications here. So we have the net investment in capital assets, which is the green line up top, which is basically your capital assets less any debt. It's steady. It's been steady from year to year. We also have restricted net position, which is the red line at the bottom, for $323,000. That is your debt service reserve requirement, and that is fully funded with that $323,000. And then the unrestricted fund balance, which is the blue line. It did have a decrease in the current year, down to the $1.9 million, but it currently has over 14 months that could pay for expenditures out of that unrestricted fund balance. Saving for the sewer fund, we have a net investment in capital assets that has stayed consistent from the prior year. And the restricted at the bottom, $500,000
Any questions?
No.
I guess, is there any kind of ranking you guys have on these types of things for, you know, obviously 0 deficiencies is ideal. And I think we're at 31. What's typical, you know, kind of where we rank in that, being that you guys do this all the time?
We do a lot of audits for smaller local governments, similar to Bayfield. And I wouldn't say that we don't have adjustments. We strive to kind of stay under like the 15, but I wouldn't say that we don't have clients that don't exceed 15 adjustments. So that is something that I sat down with John and Kathy about. We have discussed some potential ways of how we can cut that number down going forward. So we're hopeful that there will be improvements going forward.
Awesome. Yeah, there's been a lot of transition, so hopefully we'll start trending in the right direction on that stuff. So, it's good information.
Any other questions from the board or staff?
No.
Thank you, Kelly. We appreciate your work.
Yeah, thank you.
Again, we appreciate the opportunity. I have included the contact information for the audit partner, Chad, as well as myself, if there are any questions, you know, going forward. And John and Kathy have our information as well if needed.
Okay. Do we need to take an action? We need to approve the audit,
Accept.
accept the audit? So I'm looking for a motion.
I move that we accept the audit as presented.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg.
Yes.
Trustee Taylor.
Yes.
Trustee Ackerman.
Yes.
Trustee Trujillo.
Yes.
Trustee McLaurin.
Yes.
And Mayor Ah.
Yes.
So John, I had a quick question. On that garbage fund, the 31,000, is that from the sludge that was hauled off? No.
No, it's not. Mr. Mayor, Trustee Nyberg. I don't know why I'm looking at it. That does not count. That comes out of the sewer fund. This is actually from the initial budget that was put forward by, I'm guessing the prior manager, that they had calculated this would be the amount. Part of it was due to the fact that, remember, we brought up, and for those of you that were here before on the prior council, remember you had those cleanups that were included under your last contract, the spring cleanup and the fall cleanup, which were not included in this contract. Those were actually incorporated under the prior contract, in a prior company. So, that was not accounted for, and when we paid for those, then that was something that, we had to turn around and take out of, parks or something like that. The other item is the fact that the rates that were in place were not budgeted to keep up with the anticipated expenditures for the year. This is not the first year that they've declined. My understanding, and Kelly, correct me if I'm wrong, we've had a couple of years, maybe 3 now in a row, to where that revenue has been, they budgeted this much, but it's been doing this, and finally the expenditure crossed the threshold of what the revenues were bringing in. Probably what should have happened, and this is all hindsight's 20/20, we all know that. Maybe back in the past, maybe last year or the year before that, the revenue should have been adjusted so that it climbed at the same rate that the expenditures did, so we're in this situation. I can tell you that the current contract calls for a substantial increase every year. You did increase it this year. I'm gonna have it reviewed again in light of the fact that the curve that we were using was not sufficient enough to cover the expenditures. But you know, we need to understand that the contract that we currently have, the penalty to get out of it early. That was the first thing I did when I got here, is reviewed that, because we had some things that were left out of what we were anticipating as a normal service for our town. And unfortunately, for whatever reason, that got left out, those cleanups got left out. But I think we need to take a serious look, given the audit, at what has been budgeted in the past and change that decline to where it actually stays the same with what we anticipate our expenditures and our, you know, our costs are gonna be. They did add we added what was a 3% increase, CPI increase this last year, but that probably is not gonna be sufficient. So we may have to do a mid-year, look at that again, given what was brought to light by the audit, and see if we can't bring that curve up. I mean, it would've been nice to do that last year and assess that last year, but we didn't do it in time. But this year, I think we're gonna have to take another look at it to make sure that we get through the rest of the year without this same situation again. That does concern me, and you know, I will take a real strong look at that and come back to the council with any recommendations I had to see if we have to adjust it a little bit again to make sure that that stays together and that the R stays ahead of the E. Because right now, as we saw, they crossed, and, you know, one's going up and one's going down now. But that hasn't been anything new. It's just, this is the point at which they got together this last year and went the opposite direction, so.
How much does the cleanup cost?
Cleanup now,
Like the spring and fall cleanup?
1,700, I think, a
Yeah.
time, isn't it? believe
I
so.
think so. It was just around $2,000.
Yeah, I thought it was 3.
So we only do it once a year though,
We
right?
do it twice a year,
Twice.
so we do a spring and a fall cleanup. And the council, you know, the board of trustees, you guys, you know, felt we needed it last time. Well, unfortunately, there could have been a way to calculate it in to make sure your rate structure included enough money to handle that. That just wasn't done. It was an oversight sometime in the past that the services were not accounted into the budget. So, again, hindsight's 20/20. I'm not gonna go back and disparage anybody that was calculating the numbers in the past, but I think now we need to take a strong look at that and the cost increases built into this current contract and make sure that we get to the end of the year with a plus instead of a negative on that. I think that's important.
Well, I just bring that up because people are always, you know, when's the spring and fall cleanup, and I'm sure we're gonna get hit with that again, so.
Yes, sir. And I'm gonna calculate that into what the assessment is. Now, we have a couple of choices with the spring cleanup. I think the spring cleanup is an actual garbage collection. It's people cleaning their yards, they do a street cleanup or something like that, bring stuff down. Sometimes it's green waste, sometimes it's oil or something like, whatever they bring into the thing. That isn't currently covered under your contract. So, we could cover that under the general fund, which is what I've instructed Kathy to do this year, is to try to cover that under the professional services and admin to get through the year. But that still doesn't solve our total problem, because even if we took all of the cleanup money that we spent out of last year and looked at it again, we still aren't collecting enough revenue from the citizens to cover the contract that we have. So they're both a concern. The bigger concern is that our rates aren't keeping up with our expenses. So that does need to be looked at regardless of what we do with the cleanups. We still have one more cleanup budgeted for this year. We had one sometime in mid-April, didn't we? And so that one is done. But, you know, I'm gonna have to calculate in whether or not we need a rate structure to recommend to you a rate adjustment. And then the second thing is whether we need to move that out of the garbage fund and into the general fund. And I think it would be better, why make it worse at this point? Next year, we can make sure that we calculate the rate structure so that it takes it all in. If the board of trustees wants that under the garbage fund, it could be an either. You can define it as a garbage function that would go in there. It's just your rate structure has to develop that.
Do we need to adjust those rates sooner than later?
It's possible. I'm gonna look at it. That's a top priority of mine, is to take a look at that. That's on my desk right now to evaluate where we are, what we've had over the last 2 years, and how quickly it rose when we went from the old contract to the new contract, because it was significant between the two. There were some things that I not sure were incorporated into the thought process that were brought before you guys as a board of trustees. And I, again, you know me, I want to make sure you've got all the information sitting in front of you. I'm not going to disparage who was here before, who dumped the budget on you before, but I want to make sure that we all take a look at it, we're all seeing the same thing, so that you can make a good judgment on it. Because, you know, I think there were some things that were left out of the last discussion that maybe should have been included so that we can.
I think there was when we approved.
And, you know, I mean, again, it's all water under the bridge at this point, but I want to
Right.
make sure that going forward, given what I know now from the audit, and this first audit for a new manager is so vitally important to understand how things are going on, because you're right, there was a lot of transition. You had 3 managers in a period of 7, 8 months. I think you had 3 managers right over that time period. So it was disruptive, and, you know, I'm not sure Scott ever got his feet completely on the ground, but that wasn't his budget. That was the prior manager's budget from Scott. So, again, I have what little notes I can find on it. I'm just gonna take a look at what the audit found, take a look at the last 3 years' audit, and try to give you an accurate assumption as to where I think it's gonna be heading for the next few years. We did look seriously at the contract that we had to determine whether it was meeting our needs. When I found out it wasn't, then we looked at the, you know, what are the provisions of changing or, you know, doing away with the contract. And there's a penalty clause in there that I think would hurt. We have this contract for another 3 years, is that correct?
Yeah.
I believe it's 3.
Yeah, I think it was a
pretty sure we
5-year
signed a
contract.
5-year
yeah.
contract with them.
Yeah, it's a 5-year contract, so you've
And
got
it-
it for another 3, which means we've got to live within our means for at least another 3 before I can put that back out for RFP, unless we want to enact the penalty clause in it. And it's not something that I'd like to, you know, to visit at this time. I think we can get through this. We just need to sit down. But again, it all depends on what I find on where the revenue projections are. If we're looking at a pretty steep 3-year in a row hike, that may be something that may be worth considering. So, again, let me evaluate this, and I'll bring it back. Give me, you know, 4 weeks, so give me 2 council meetings, and in 2 council meetings, I will bring back the recommendations that I have before the board of trustees with the data. You can take a look at it, and we can go from there, because I really hate to make a decision or have you make a decision without all the facts sitting in front of you. So.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Any other questions from the board? So we're moving on to the action agenda. Board of Trustees meeting minutes dated July 7th, 2026.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the Board of Trustees meeting minutes dated 7/7/26.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg,
Yes.
Trustee Taylor,
Yes.
Trustee Ackerman,
Yes.
Trustee Trujillo,
Yes.
Trustee McLaurin,
Yes.
and Mayor Ah.
Yes. So now we're doing 3C, which is now the new 3B. Ordinance number 521, Land Use Code Amendments.
Good evening, Board of Trustees. Derek Slocum, Town Planner. So, yeah, this is a land use code amendment. This has been worked on for the past few months. It was on the agenda, I think, about a month ago for the Town Board of Trustees, but it was removed after we found some discrepancies in there. But overall, the gist of this is what we're doing is we're removing the elected official from the board of, from the planning commission and reducing the number of planning commissioners from currently 7 to 5. Reason being is due to, we want to get away from these potential conflict of interest, no matter who the mayor or the trustee backup is, so that we can just have a smooth sailing from the planning commission to the board of trustees once it comes to land use cases. I reduced the number from 7 to 5 because initially what we were trying to do is we were trying to expand our area of eligible participants, I guess you could say. You know, we were working on, you know, maybe within the 3-mile plan, maybe, you know, somebody who owns a property, has a business license here in the town of Bayfield, but doesn't necessarily live in Bayfield. We're trying a bunch of different things. But it all comes down to us being a statutory town and the Colorado revised statutes. So there was a lot of, you know, we could do a lot to a point, I guess you could say. So we can make the change from reducing the commission members from 7 to 5. We can remove the elected official or anybody who works for the municipality from the commission. But the one thing that we could not do is we could not change the eligibility of participants within the town limits. They have to be within the town limits. So that was also a reason why I reduced it down to 5, or I proposed to reduce it down to 5. Because from what I understand, the history and everything, participation's been kind of not all there. You have meetings being canceled due to lack of quorum. Luckily, that hasn't happened yet since I've been here, but I heard it happened a lot in the past. So when you reduce the number of participants or commissioners from 7 to 5, you also reduce your quorum. So now we only need to have 3 attending the meeting at a time for a quorum instead of the 4. So that is that's really the bulk of the changes right there that I'm proposing for this. The Planning Commission did hear this at its Planning Commission meeting last week. It was approved 5-0. They recommend that the Board of Trustees also approve the adoption of Ordinance 521, which would authorize the proposed land use code amendments. Possible motions are on page 2 of the staff report or 138 of your packet. So if you have any questions, I can be happy to answer them.
Questions?
I think those are good things, having experience with the process, so I think that's prudent. If nobody has any questions, I'll motion.
Any other questions,
No.
comments? Roll.
I'll motion to approve the adoption of ordinance 521 as presented.
I'll second.
Got a motion? Jerry, if you have questions, comments? Sorry, I didn't hear you. I didn't see you up there. I apologize.
I do have, I would rather not see the number of participants.
Wait, can you state your name, please, so we all know for the record who's,
606 Buckeye.
okay.
I apologize for not putting the name down. I would suggest that it's better to change the name and just go to, still leave it at 7, just take the trustee and mayor off. Because I think that it's important that anything that comes out of the planning commission comes out with at least 4 people approving of it. That's just my thoughts. I think that there are people that are interested, including myself. I mean, you people had the opportunity to put me on the planning commission at one point, if I recollect. I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Okay, so we got a motion and a second, correct?
Yes.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg?
Yes.
Trustee Taylor?
Yes.
Trustee Ackerman?
Yes.
Trustee Trujillo?
Yes.
Trustee McLaurin?
Yes.
And Mayor Ah.
Yes. Next up is Resolution 678, Planning Commission bylaw adoptions.
Okay, we had the items switched around so that we could get the land use code approved or denied or tabled first before we heard the bylaws, because for the bylaws for the planning commission, what this is just mirroring what was approved. So we're inserting into the bylaws the membership requirements, which is what the land use code, the amendment was. And there's a change again in regards to the quorum number, and mostly just some grammar changes. This was originally written up and approved by the Planning Commission back in October of 2022. So all the wording from there is the same. I just could not find anywhere where it was actually heard by the trustees, because trustees got to also approve it as well. I couldn't find any record of that. So what you have here is about 90% of what was approved by the Planning Commission back in 2022, with the revisions and additions of the new approved amendment of the land use code regarding the membership, some typo changes, some grammar changes, and that's pretty much what we have right here for the bylaws. I can take any questions you might have.
Questions from the board? So, any public comment? Guess not. Looking for a motion?
I'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve Resolution 678.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg.
Yes.
Trustee Taylor.
Yes.
Trustee Ackerman.
Yes.
Trustee Trujillo.
Yes.
Trustee McLaurin.
Yes.
And Mayor Ah.
Yes. Department reports. Public Works.
Good evening, Mayor, Board of Trustees. This is a staff report for Public Works for the month of June for the water system. No incidents reported, and this will be in my report as well for parks. We do have a water leak at Eagle Park. It's a very slow leak. Our HVAC truck is broken down, so we're waiting for repairs on that to be able to suck that out and make that repair. We have been able to keep the restrooms open and just fenced it off to keep people out of the area. So yeah, we're hoping this week we get that truck back and we get that repaired as soon as possible. So we had some Verizon network down on 623. Required some staff to be on site for that. Not sure what all that entailed. The backup generators for the water plant and pump station are set. The electrical work has been completed and concrete work is completed. I've seen the work, it looks great. Nice looking generator as well. So we do need to get some fencing, and that's up by the water tanks at the top of Tamarack there. So I believe we pulled the fencing to be able to do the concrete work and set the generator. We need to put that back in place. So that way that will be secure. So fire hydrant maintenance is completed. Sewer system, no incidents. Again, the Verizon network thing. We're going to start our annual sewer maintenance program. So again, as soon as our jet rod truck is done, we'll start doing that. And it looks like we're on a 3-year rotation for this work. So getting that going. Storm drains. I've kind of gone out with the last rainstorm and the one before that, and I believe we had probably about an inch of rain, pretty significant, in about a half hour. All of our storm drains and retention ponds look good. I don't think we had any complaints on anything, but just trying to keep an eye on that and seeing how those are keeping up, with the rainstorms we had in the previous year. There were some issues reported, but so far I'm not seeing any issues, so that's great. I'll skip the Los Pinos stuff. With streets, all the public works guys have been working on weed mitigation, cutting them, spraying them, and now with the rain, they're going to get to start that all over again. So that'll be fun. They did do a lot, preparation for 4th of July, painting curbs and keeping the streets swept and cleaned up for the event, and I felt they did a great job with that. Looks like we got our cold patch, so we can start doing some pothole repairs. I've already seen some that's been done, so I think everybody's happy to see those being filled and getting that done. And for equipment maintenance, one of our flatbed trucks was taken to Dub's Auto Body, got some repairs on the brakes, rotors, and again, our hydrovac truck is in the shop for repair. Yeah, I think that's reported there. And you can see all your flow charts for sewer. Everything looks pretty normal there for me. All your flows. Water, obviously in the summer months, those are going to go up. People are watering their lawns and stuff, so all that stuff looks fairly normal to me as well. That's what we got for June for Public Works. If you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Questions?
Thank you.
Yep. Okay. Parks, Rec, and Facility Maintenance Department report. Just normal operations now. In June, we did have a damaged slide at Mesa Park. We've removed that slide. It's a pretty significant crack. It's hazardous. And we closed that off and taped it all off, and we'll be, monitoring that to make sure it's safe. And we've got some estimates. It's not cheap. It's about $1,500 to get the replacement part for it. We're awaiting a few other estimates to compare pricing on that. Sun and plastic, wear and tear. I don't know how old the equipment at Mesa Park is. When that park was built, I have no records other than the grant stuff. There's no site plan. There's no information, and that's something that we should have kept on file, but whoever was in charge of that didn't. But I'm guessing at least 15 years old, Tom. I'm not sure how old that park is.
Probably close. It was when it's when the pipe was installed that's flooding the houses over there too.
Right, okay. So, there's gonna be some issues. The rest of the playground, I feel, is in great shape, but the slides, even the other slides have some cracks. We've kind of like drilled holes on both ends of the crack and filled it with epoxy to prevent them from spreading, but it's just something that, is common, and we're gonna have issues, When we've switched from metal to plastic for heat, plastic just doesn't do well with UV rays. So the shade structure does help with that, but still, it's going to be an ongoing issue. So we'll get it replaced and try to keep up with that. Another water leak at the library park. I really don't know what the deal is with the lines over there, but we continue to have issues. So this time, again, once this HVAC truck is repaired, we're gonna just try to excavate the entire area and replace as much as we can. I don't feel it's the repair that we just did, but we will find out once we get it all excavated. So it is in a different area where it's surfacing, but it's close to where we made the previous repair. So again, the leak at Eagle Park, lots of water leaks in these last couple months. We had another one, I didn't put it in here, but we just discovered at Joe Stevenson Park, which we repaired that today in the pump house. So that wasn't too bad. Yeah, let's see. Park staff also performed a lot of fire mitigation for 4th of July, event staging, decorating, setup, tear down for that celebration. I had to leave. Had a family emergency with a fire in Dove Creek at my dad's place. So I ended up going over there and helping with that. But very proud of my staff. They did a fantastic job, and we had a great celebration. So I was really pleased with them, picking up the slack and doing a great job without my presence. And for our leadership team stepping in and helping out with that as well. So I think it was a much larger event this year, though, a lot more people than what we've had in the past. So we're going to be doing some preparation for the years to come to keep up with that. So the Southwest Conservation Corps, I know last time I told you that job was completed. The grant has been finalized. I did a survey with GOCO with all good reviews for SCC. They did a fantastic job. And I am currently working on another application to do some more work with them next year. So I think the scope on that will be looking more from like Twin Bridges at Joe Stevenson Park all the way down to the senior center, because that is a very heavily wooded area that could use some work. It's very overgrown in that area. So recreation, a shout out to the rec temp staff. They also helped with 4th of July festivities. They did a lot of stuff to help keep up with the additional people that we had this year. Trash was a lot. I think we did 7.8 tons of trash this year. So lots of trash to take out. We filled the entire roll-off that we had. So
Is that all those cardboard containers holding the hot dogs?
yeah, I
2,800
think
hot
some
dogs?
half-empty beer cans, I don't know, water bottles, some liquid weight, I think definitely contributed to that. Right. Yeah. Yeah, I think we're gonna have to expand, get more porta potties, more trash cans. You know, because park staff really, that's, after everything's set up and going, that's their only job, and they had a hard time keeping up. So the rec staff came in and helped with that as well. So that tells me we had a lot more people this year, so. Bryce is really happy to wrap up the softball season. We got tournaments coming up, and that should conclude by the end of this month. So I think he's pleased to be done with softball. I think he told me Monday night they were there till 11:30 with games. So I think he's ready to be done with softball. He is working on improving our coach registration process with some more requirements. He wants to do some concussion awareness training. I think that's great. I think that's something we probably should have already been doing. So that'll be a good addition for the coaches to train on. And then just go over more expectations, you know, with conduct and stuff like that to keep it a fun, safe environment. So he's working on that, and as well as for the spectators and participants, he'll be, you know, revising our code of conduct and going over that stuff as well. Soccer registration's looking really strong, as well as flag football. They already have 57 participants, and it's early in the registration, so looking to have some good full teams for soccer and flag football. He is going to do the kickball. I know I've brought this up a few times, so we'll see how that goes. Hopefully that'll be a fun sport, and we'll get some good registration numbers there as well. And to conclude, facility maintenance, not a lot. We did receive good scores from our CIRSA audit. So thanks to staff again for keeping their facilities safe and clean and prepared for this audit. That helps keep our insurance rates low, so that is a win for us. And if you have any questions on that stuff, I'd be happy to answer for you.
Thanks, Mark.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, sir. Next up is Board of Trustee reports and requests for future agenda items. I don't have anything at this time. Trustee Ackerman?
Yeah, I wasn't here the last meeting, but I did want to say the 4th I thought went really well. We were there for the fireworks and the band, and had really a lot of positive feedback. I know there was a lot of concern about fireworks and such, but it was good to see it went off without a hitch, and the band couldn't have been more American, and was fun to watch. I'd book them for next year if it were me, because
They were very pleased and they would like to do it again.
yeah, I think that they're fantastic. So that was awesome, and just wanted to say thanks to town staff for making that all happen. It's a big event, a lot of work. So thank you for that. And then on a totally different item, who does the building department voicemail go to? Is that Emilio?
Emilio.
Okay. Might have him check his voicemail.
Yeah, I'm gonna send out a mass email for instructions on, seems like we've got a few that needs to change their voicemail.
Yeah, I haven't got responses back, so just a little concerned on that, but that's all I got.
Trustee McLaurin?
I don't have a whole lot except a couple of news. John had sent me this thing, the Moravan people made a big contribution down in Durango for the La Plata Family Coalition. They gave them money to purchase a greenhouse, a big greenhouse. I think it's 30 by 100 feet. And the money to set it up and operate it and all that so we can increase the food supply, the local food supply. Don't know the details. I think the same people gave money to Pine River Shares for the community farm. I think they did some of that too. And today, they just presented a $100,000 check to the shelter, the homeless shelter in Durango. So usually he gives money to us to distribute, but I don't know if he's doing that this year or not, whether he's just gone up.
Mr. Mayor, Trustee McLaurin, he indicated to us this year, because he's contributing quite a bit to Pine River Shares and for the building situation that they have, I know he's taken a very high priority type step to that. He indicated to us that he will be contributing to the town council like he's done in the past. He's gonna try to, focus his giving on some big problems we have here. So you're correct, Pine River Shares and the building situation, which we all were aware of during the budget last year. It's something that he's working really hard, not just with his key and resources that they currently have, but he's also trying to work together with some of his business contacts in the valley to try to get bankers and other folks to help out as well. So he's still contributing to the community and still very active in across the Plata County, but he still really is paying a lot of attention to our community, and I think it's still money well spent. It's still benefiting
Oh, yeah.
his business. We appreciate everything he does, whether it's going through the Board of Trustees or going directly to, the charities that need it. It is money that is helping out our community, so.
Yeah, no, I'm glad to hear that he's still staying active, because we haven't heard from him, and he always has in the past, but that's great.
No. And the community farm is growing great guns over there in Gem Village. Anybody wants to go over? Has anybody on the board been there to see the farm? Oh, well, yeah. Andrew's been there. He's been there a lot, but it's worth going over to see. They have work days on Mondays and Fridays from 8 until 12, and they take volunteers other days too, but, I mean, it's really something to see, and it's really growing, so.
That's great. Anything else? Trustee Trujillo?
I don't have anything. Just thank you, staff and John, for keeping up the good work.
Trustee Nyberg?
Just the upcoming meeting with Southwest TPR on the 13th of August.
Trustee Taylor?
I don't have anything.